My name is Roberta Carreri. I am an actress at Aplo Theatre, based in Holstebro, Denmark. Aplo Theatre was started in Oslo, Norway in 1964 by Eugenio Barba, who is still the theatre's director. The actors in the group come from various countries. I am Italian and have been working in Aplo Theatre since 1974. work demonstration. That is a performance in which I will tell you my professional secrets. The dance that I just showed you, it has been inspired by my meeting with theater masters from the Far East during the last 10 years. I made this dance 3 years ago in my physical training. When I started at the Aplo Theatre, my actor training looked very different. I started in 1974. At that moment, the Aplo Theatre was 10 years old. Why the training of the actor? Something that makes the difference between the performer or the actor and the spectator is the presence that the actor has to have. What does it mean to be present? We're all present here now, but I know that some of you are more present than some other. You, as a spectator, can let your body stay here and let your mind fly away far from this room. Me, as a performer, as an actor, I have to be here with my body and with my mind, connected all the time. On another hand, another aim is the one to liberate the young actor from what I would call the automatism of the daily life. That's why all the actors at the Aplo Theatre has been going through the experience of acrobatics. Acrobatics is very important because in acrobatic you have to be connected with your body and mind. If your mind leaves your body will fall and you will get hurt. So we say that the floor has been our first Zen master, waking us up every time we lost concentration. One can use acrobatic with a strong and fast dynamic, filling the room with energy. But one can also use exercises from acrobatic in slow motion. Slow motion is a principle of work that obliges me to move very slow, centimeter after centimeter. I have to think with all my body in order not to fall. And in order not to make quick movements. Now my hair will probably fall because I cannot control it. But my body, I should be able to control it. I work with the force of gravity. Pushing and pulling slowly my weight, displacing it. I have to know how my feet has to go in order to let me come up without jerky movements. And also, just standing up has to be done very slowly. If I forget a part of my body, that part will move quicker. Slowly. Not falling. 1 centimeter fall is a fall. Slow motion is not only a question of speed, it's also a question of kind of pulse. and so on. We can work in the training with different principles and with exercises. Like, for instance, the acrobatical exercises are fixed. We learn them from an older actor, and they have a beginning, a development, and an end, which are fixed, so that we can teach it to other people. Or we can work inside a principle. It means a frame of rules in which we can improvise. I can work in slow motion, improvising. I'm not following any exercise, but just the rule of moving slowly and not forgetting any part of my body. Another principle that I've been told by the older actor during my first season of the training has been the principle of the work with feet and hands. The aim of the work with the feet is to find new ways, new possibilities for displacing the body into the space. For instance, or the hands that we always use and never dance with. Working with the hands, working with the feet. Working with the feet and working with the hand. Finding a new way of, a kind of natural way of being, but not naturalistic. Another principle that the older colleague had told me in my first training season is the one of introversion and extroversion. Every part of the body can be either extroverted or introverted. The head, the shoulders, the pelvis, the arms, the hands. The hands can be extroverted while the arms are introverted, or introverted while the arms are extroverted. The legs, extroverted or introverted. The feet usually follow the legs. So I can make a dialogue between the different parts of my body, making some of them introverted and some of them extroverted. Head introverted, shoulders introverted, arms extroverted, pelvis extroverted, one leg extroverted, the other introverted. Completely extroverted, only changing one detail, the head. Now, every time I work in the room with training or with performance, I have always with me a little book on which I write down all the things that I want to remember. And I have this book with me also tonight because I don't want to forget to tell you what I've decided to tell you. Yes, about 2 years. After about 2 years of work with introversion, extroversion, working with the feet and the hands, I create a character, a street character. It was dressed in man clothes, with white shirt, black trousers, and big red suspenders. It was a part of a street performance called Anabasis, and I called him Geronimo. Geronimo. After the first season, in the training, comes the second season. As I told you, the first season was in order to liberate the body from the automatism of the daily life and find another way of being natural on the stage
without being naturalistic. About 3 years after one comes into the group, one starts the second season in the training. From now on, your training becomes your individual training. And it's a moment of great freedom, but it's also a moment of great loneliness, because up until this moment, an older actor, or Eugenio Barba himself, has been watching the work of the young actor, telling him what to do, how to do it, giving advice all the time. Now, the young actor has to decide for himself what he has to work on and how. So at this moment, he needs inspiration. One can find inspiration by watching the work of other theater groups, by watching performances of other kind of theater, or by reading books, going to movies, or looking into photography and art books. In southern France, I found the inspiration for my first principle, the first principle that I create in my individual training. It was a book about the play of balls. It was a fantastic book with beautiful pictures, and I was really fascinated by the fact of this old man, 70, 75, 80 years old, flying in the moment they were throwing their ball. To make this kind of throw, you have really to be concentrated. And I could see in the pictures of this old man preparing themselves to the throw that they were really thinking with all their body, looking and through their eyes, thinking with all their body, gathering exactly the precise amount of energy that was needed, and then throwing it. So when I came back to Holstebro, I tried to create something that was equivalent to those pictures. I started to throw, but I remembered that fascinated me was that those pictures were snapshots, pictures taken in movement. So I started making snapshots of throwing, freezing my movement when the ball left my hand. In order to freeze this moment, I have to keep the balance. Now, if I throw in one direction, my body will be taken in that direction. So I have to make a counter-impulse in order to create the balance, because the balance is the result of two opposite but equal powers. I have to make a contraposition with another part of my body. Otherwise, you don't have a chance to keep the balance. And I keep my balance on the tip of my toes. And I started to throw slowly, quickly, softly, hard, small, or big. Changing direction, starting in one direction and ending in another. When I show you the work on these different principles, I show it to you maybe 2-3 minutes. But when we work in the room, we work on each one of them for 20-30 minutes. And this make us meet a very faithful work companion. Tiredness. We become tired. And then one can decide that to be tired means that my body has got enough and then I have to stop. Or I can ask myself, what lies behind tiredness? What lies behind my first limits? Maybe some among you have tried jogging. Then after about 10 minutes, your body becomes terribly heavy. If you have the chance to be with a person that has been jogging for a long time, and if it happens that you like this person, you will keep on running even if you're tired. And eventually, after about 5 minutes, you will experience that suddenly you start to become lighter again. What happened? It's not a miracle of love. On a scientific point of view, your brain has started to produce endorphin. Endorphin is a chemical substance very close to morphine or also to adrenaline. This chemical stuff, endorphin, is something that our body produces when it has to face challenges that are bigger than the one that we daily face. Extraordinary situations. I don't know, maybe some of you had the experience of dancing for hours with other people. Really dancing for hours. Being exhausted, at the end, exhausted, but not tired. And maybe some of you had the experience of attending a conference and after about 15 minutes getting terribly tired and maybe even fall asleep. So what becomes tired first? Our body or our brain? For what concerns me, I know that is my brain. That's why when I work in my training, I have to give my brain something to chew on. I have to tell my brain, work with different directions, all the different directions. Work with different speeds, quick or slowly, or quick. Work with different size. A movement can be big or can be small. And work with different kind of energy. Soft energy, hard energy. What we call, for the first few years, physical training is in fact a mental training. People working within sports know that very well. After about 6-7 years of work in the training, I could come into the working room and start to train. Te and Anna are coming to eat at my place tonight. Well, I should cook some fish. They love fish, but I don't have any white one. Then I should buy it. When I started to think about what I had to make for dinner for my friends when I was working, I realized that this kind of training didn't work anymore for me. My body could do it without my brain being involved. It had become automatic. So I had to break down my automatism that I myself had been building inside my work. For many years, Eugenia had been told me, fill the room, fill the space with energies. And I always did it with big movements. From that moment, I sat down and tried to irradiate energy in the room with small movements. What I'm doing, I'm working with a principle that I call segmentation. It means I can move only one segment of my body at a time. I decided that the eyes were also a fragment, a segment. So I can move my eyes and then my head, my eyes and then my head. Or I can move my head and then my eyes, my head and then my eyes. Or I can move my eyes and my head together, but I have to decide it. I can start the movement from the shoulder, then the elbow, and then the fingers. What is important for me is to keep the rest of my body still. Moving only one part at a time. Now I move my eyes along with my head. I can decide to do it, but it's different if I do like this or if I do like this. I can also decide to move two segments at a time. But I have to decide it. It's not something that happens automatically. Nothing is automatically in this training. If we think about a principle as a frame, this principle is a very little frame. It has been the narrowest, the smallest I have experienced. After I've been working for years with all my body in the room, to work only with one joint at a time, it was very difficult and very boring. I really had to use all my fantasy in changing directions, changing speed, changing size, changing quality of energy in order to keep it alive. Also because I was very puzzled about what could be a theatrical close-up. When one goes to the movies and one sees a film, if the director wants you to see a hand of the actor, he make a close-up and cut into the film one hand, which is 7 meters per 5 in front of you at a certain point. You can't avoid to see it. But when you are in the theater, you can see the whole body of the actor. And if I want you to look at my hand, I have one possibility, and it is to be completely still with the rest of my body and let only my hand move. If one forgets one part of the body, this part will move, even if you don't decide to move it. Because it's important for the actor to be decided. And this makes me think about Niels Bohr. Niels Bohr was a Danish physicist, very famous for his research on quantum theory, but less known for his love for Westerns. And there was one thing that was very puzzling for him. Why always in the Westerns there is a duel between the good and the bad, the guy with a white hat and the guy with a black hat, and always the first that goes to the pistol is the one that dies. How does it come? Is it logical? So what Niels Bohr did, he sent his assistant into town to buy water pistols. He came back to the laboratory and then he asked 2 of his assistants to make duels with water pistols. And then Niels Bohr, the famous physicist, understood why the Western were right. Because the first that goes to the pistol, he decide to go to the pistol. He make a mental action and then a physical action. The second one is decided. The second one is one with his action. There is a difference between to think an action and realize it and to be one with his action, to be decided. An action, by the way, is different from a movement. A movement doesn't change anything in the space. An action always changes something, wants to change something. This is an action. I move my book. This is an action. I want to move my book. I have a precise intention, which in English you can also say intention, tension inside my body. If this book was a box of beer, then my intention will be different. My body will prepare himself in a different way to lift it. Well, when I came at the Aplo Theatre, the colleagues were working with a big stick. It was 1.80 meters in height and 4 centimeters in diameter. It was in wood. It was quite heavy. And Eugenio asked me to work with this big stick as well. He said, you have to find the life of this object. Well, what is the life of a piece of wood? If not the life, the energy that you inject into him. And we had to make exercises with this piece of wood that had a start, a development, and an end. Precise. One rule, we had always to grab it either on one edge or the other edge precisely in the end of the stick, or precisely in the middle. So when we throw the stick and we had to grab it precisely on the edge, this long stick, 1.80 meters, had the tendency to go down, but we had to keep it perfectly parallel to the floor. We never had, at the Aplo Theatre, training for girls and training for men. We always make the same training during the first 3 years, during the first season of the training. Then the training becomes individual and one can decide himself what to work on. After about 3 years, I was allowed to work with a smaller stick. Looks easier because it's lighter, but in fact it's not, because it doesn't give me any resistance. And it's so light that I can make it fly without using my body. So, in the beginning I had to pretend that the stick was as heavy as the Bushman, the bigger stick. I can name this. I can recognize it from inside. And I went to my little book and wrote down the name, Warrior. It's important to understand that I don't think first an image and then try to realize it with my body, but by letting my body work with the prop, I recognize images that I can name. It's what we can call a thinking in movement. It's a different way of thinking. When I've gathered around 12, 15 pictures, I made a montage out of it.
There is a warrior in a forest. He hears a sound. Who's there? But it's only a lady walking on the side of the river. And in the middle of the river, there is an old man in his boat. He's out fishing. And when he catches the fish, he sees people playing golf on the other side of the river. And a little boy, following with his eyes the little flying ball, sees a duck, and with his arrow gets him. And the wounded duck falls into the river, deep, deep into the water. This kind of logic doesn't work in a linear way, works by jump, by associations. And it's a very precious kind of logic when one works with improvisation. The improvisation that we do for the performances. This kind of improvisations have always a theme, and the improvisation have always been individual. I never made theater before coming at the Aplo Theatre. I never made an improvisation before in my life. I didn't know how to make it, but I still remember the beginning of my first improvisation, and I will show it to you now. In the King's Garden. And so on. If I had to make the same improvisation, let's say 3-4 years later, maybe I would have done like this. Why? Because in the King's garden, it's forbidden to go. It's his own garden. I'm not supposed to be here. And when I see a beautiful flower and I want to pick it, I make sure that nobody sees me. And when I want to smell it, many small warriors come out from the flowers with their sword, and they hit me, and they struck me, and they come out also from the other flowers, and they hurt me, and they hurt me. But then it starts to rain, and every drop of rain is a little angel with wings, and with his wings he crushes all those small warriors, and the rain saved me. Once again, a logic that makes me react and not act all the time. When we made improvisations, we had to repeat them. To learn an improvisation of about 5 minutes, it can take up to 1 week. And then we show it to Eugenio. If one action was too big, he will ask us to make it smaller, as he say, to absorb it. One action can be like this, but then I can make it smaller. Or I can make it even smaller. Even smaller. But it's there in my bag. I don't lose it. I don't do like this. I do like this, as I did when I was big. Or Eugenio can say, we can use this improvisation in a scene that I'm working on. There is a very evil and angry king sitting there,
And he wants to sentence to death a young and noble warrior who had the bad taste to seduce his daughter. So he calls all the chief of the army and all the chief of the church into the throne room in order to sentence to death this young noble warrior. And Eugenio says, Roberta, you are the young noble warrior entering the room. So I will do. What I'm being using now is a fragment of my improvisation in the King's Garden. What I do, I walk slowly, but now the contest gives to my walk a different logic. Is because, in fact, a person who knows that he's about to die goes slowly because he wants to taste the last minute he's got. And when he has to kneel, he wants to look at the people who are going to sentence him to death. And then to the king. If Eugenio has said to me, you are the young noble warrior, come into the room and kneel in front of the king, maybe I would have done like this. Which is much less real than the other one. When we make improvisations, and when our improvisation are put into the scene, we always try to keep the images of the original improvisation with us, because this tension of meaning that is created by the original images and the new context in which the improvisation is put, it's what gives a different quality to our presence. I will go back to my little book. Yes. There are other ways of creating materials for the performances. One of them is composition, the work on composition, as we call it. Composition of the body and the voice of the different characters. In 1979, we made a performance called Brecht Ashes. It was based on Bertolt Brecht's life and work. I had to play 3 different characters, 2 from Bertolt Brecht's play and 1 from his life. The 2 from his plays were Polly Pichon from the Three Pennies Opera and Yvette Poitier from Mutter Courage. The one from his life was Margarete Steppin, that was Bertolt Brecht's secretary through many years. When we started working on the performance, Eugenio wanted me to walk on high heels. And we started by Eugenio asking me to find how Polly Pichon walked. Well, Polly Pichon is the daughter of Jeremiah Pichon. She's a very spoiled girl of a wealthy father. We will not speak about how he made his wealth, but she is a girl that gets what she wants. She wants to make it the messer, make it the knife, and she gets him. She marries him. So, she is a very open girl because she knows what she wants and she will get it. Then Eugenio said, okay, and how does Yvette Poitier walk? Well, Yvette Poitier is a whore, a prostitute. I've never seen a prostitute walking like this. They have to show what they have to offer. So, they're very open. Not only that, but Yvette Poitier is a very clever girl. She knows what she wants and she gets it. She wants to become a grande dame, and in the end of the play, she marries a colonel. Then, she's the only one in all this play that gets something out of all that misery. So, she's open. Then Eugenio said, oh, ma Roberta, you have 2 characters and they walk in the same way. How can the poor spectator know when you are the one and when you are the other? I say, yes, but it's your fault. You give me 2 characters that they are so similar. And I say, well, let's see. Start to walk like Yvette Poitier. All right, here we go. Good. And now do the opposite. What do you mean by the opposite? The opposite. Yes, but the opposite is like this. Yes, do like this. But don't forget that you are polypitching, that you know what you want, and you will get it. In this way, our polypitching was born. There are many things that are not written in the plays. Which was the color of the eyes of Polly Pigeon? It's not written. If Polly Pigeon had a little accident at birth with her hip, it's not written either. But we decided that maybe she had. That's why she walked like this. Polly Pigeon and Yvette Poitier had also two different ways of using the voice. I will now sing a song that Yvette Poitier sang and a song that Polly Pigeon sang. Hauptmann, lasst die Trommel ruhen und lasst euer Fußvolk halten an. Mutter Courage kommt mit Schuhen, in denen's Wasser laufen kann. Mit seinen leisen und Gettieren, Bagage, Kanonen und Gespann, soll es sie in den Tod marschieren, so wie das gute In 1987, my daughter, Alice, started to go to school. Normal for a girl 6 years old. But this creates me some problems, because I could not travel with the rest of the group on tour that much as we did. Until that point, I could take her with me on tour with a babysitter. But from that point, I had to stay in Holstebro with her. So Eugenio proposed me to make a solo performance. He thought about the theme of Judith, the woman from the Bible, the woman that, as the only one in all the Bible, doesn't give birth, doesn't give life, but kills with her own hands. So when we started to work on the theme of Judith, Eugenio asked me to produce material that he could work with. Since 1972, at the Aplo Theatre, we don't follow a text, but the text of the performance is created at the same time as the performance. The interaction between the director and the actors create the performance. I started to work to produce materials, and Eugenio gave me a book, a catalog of an exhibition about Maria Magdalena. And I looked at those pictures, And I found that some of those pictures were still so strong after many, many centuries. And I made photocopies of them. Then I put it on the floor in the workroom, and I started to learn them. There was a series of pictures of Maria Magdalena with the oil, of Maria Magdalena washing the feet of Jesus, of Maria Magdalena under the cross, of Maria Magdalena in ecstasies. And I will show you now what happened to the series of Maria Magdalena under the cross. There was one like this, there was one like this, another one like this, one like this, like this, like this from Carpaccio, like this from a Flemish painter, and there was one like this, and one like this. Then I try to find a pulse that will help me to link one picture to the next with a song, letting the song lead me from one to the other. And in order not to put grease on butter, as they say in Denmark, I didn't choose a dramatic song, because the picture were dramatic in itself. So I choose a lullaby, a song for children. Ninna nanna 7:20 che il bambino s'addormenta e fa un bel sonno e si sveglia domani a giorno. Ninna ieri che le sporte non son panieri e i panieri non son le sporte, la vita non è la morte e la morte non è la vita, la canzone è già finita. But this is a lullaby for all the people who understand Italian, not for the rest. So I tried to find another song that could evoke the picture of a baby in other countries as well. Angel del ciel, pargol divin, mi tangentor, tu che vadi dai lungi sognar, tu che angeliche voci annunciar, luce tani elementi, pace infondi nei cuori. But then when I show it to Eugenio, he say, good, but we can't use it. Because Jesus belongs to the New Testament and Judith to the Old one. So we cannot put them together. So we decided to create a poem, a love poem. Because in our version of the story of Judith and Oloferne, Judith falls in love with Oloferne before killing him. And since in the performance this poem is said to the severed head of Oloferne lying on the floor, the physical score is slightly changed. Mani e occhi guidano il suo letto, mi vede, mi sente, mi riconosce. E la notte lega i corpi. Lascio passare i giorni, le nubi, tutti i lieti del passato. Il mio paesaggio è una felicità, il suo volto un limpido universo. Qui è impossibile perdersi. The text is in Italian because the performance is in Italian. Because Italian is my mother language, is the language that I speak best. And since Judith is a tragical character, Eugenio meant that it was no good that I spoke another language, because he thinks that my English as well as my Danish sounds like the English and the Danish that the clowns speaks in the circus. So it was better not to do it. And we make the performance in Italian. We have a voice training at the Aplo Theatre. And this voice training is based to the training that Eugenio learned at Grotowski's Theatre Laboratorium. It's the work with 5 different resonators: back head, top head, mask, chest. and abdomen. One works with the different resonators using a text that one knows very well, that one has not to think about, and is just material, vocal material, but it has to be a text. We don't try to interpretate this text. We don't respect the punctuation. We just speak as long as we have breath, and then we stop and take a new breath. The aim is to make vocal actions. It means starting from the surface of my body, going out in the space as far as I can, and then going back to my body, exactly in the same place where I started from. I will make an example. Molto spesso ho studiato la lapide che mi hanno scolpito una barca con vele mai nate in un porto. In realtà non è questa la mia destinazione, ma la mia vita, perché l'amore mi si offerse, ma io mi ritrassi dal suo inganno. Il dolore bussò alla mia porta, ma ebbi paura. L'ambizione mi chiamò, ma io temetti gli imprevisti. Malgrado tutto avevo fame di un significato nella vita. Adesso so che bisogna alzare le vele, prendere i venti del destino ovunque spingano la barca, dare un senso alla vita può condurre a follia, ma una vita senza senso è la tortura dell'inquietudine del vano ti sei. Prendere i venti del destino ovunque spingano la barca. Dare un senso alla vita può condurre a follia, ma una vita senza senso è la tortura dell'inquietudine e del vano desiderio. Una barca che nel mare pure lo teme. Molto spesso ho studiato lapide che mi hanno scolpito una barca con vele ammainate in un porto. In realtà non è questa la mia destinazione, ma la mia vita, perché l'amore mi si offerse, ma io mi ritrassi dal suo inganno. Il dolore bussò alla mia porta, ma io ebbi paura. L'ambizione mi chiamò, me temette gli imprevisti. Malgrado tutto avevo fame di un significato nella vita. Adesso so che bisogna alzare le vele e prendere i venti del destino ovunque spingano la barca. Dare un senso alla vita può condurre a follia, ma una vita senza senso è la tortura dell'inquietudine e del vano desiderio. Una barca che nel mare pure lo teme. Molto spesso ho studiato la lapide che mi hanno scolpito una barca con vele mai nate in un porto. Dare un senso alla vita può condurre a follia, ma una vita senza senso è la tortura dell'inquietudine e del vano desiderio. Una barca che nel mare pure la teme. Molto spesso ho studiato la lapide che mi hanno scolpito una barca con vele mai nate in un porto. In realtà non è questa la mia destinazione, ma la mia vita, perché l'amore mi si è perso, mi ritrassi dal suo inganno. Il dolore bussò alla mia porta, ma io ebbi paura. L'ambizione mi chiamò, ma io temetti gli imprevisti. Malgrado tutto avevo fame di un significato nella vita, e adesso so che bisogna alzare le vele e prendere i venti del destino ovunque spingano la barca. Dare un senso alla vita può condurre a follia, ma una vita senza senso è la tortura dell'inquietudine e del vano desiderio. È una barca che nel mare pure lo teme. Molto spesso ho studiato la lapide che mi hanno scolpito. 5 different directions. And then I can color some of them with my nose or with my throat. Molto spesso ho studiato la lapide che mi hanno scolpito una barca con vele ammainate in un porto. In realtà non è questa la mia destinazione, ma la mia vita, perché l'amore mi si offerse, ma io il dolore bussò alla mia porta. Throat and nose. And then I can start to improvise, pretending to follow a flying ball with my voice, holding on it while it's moving in the space. Let's say that it starts in front of me, on the floor. Molto spesso ho studiato lapide che mi hanno scolpito una barca con vele ammainate in un porto. In realtà non è questa la mia destinazione, ma la mia vita, perché l'amore mi si è offerse, ma io mi ritrassi dal suo inganno. Il dolore bussò alla mia porta, ma io ebbi paura. L'ambizione mi chiamò, ma io temetti gli imprevisti. Malgrado tutto avevo fame di un significato nella vita. Adesso so che bisogna alzare le vele, prendere i venti del destino ovunque spingano la barca. Dare un senso alla vita può condurre a follia, ma una vita senza senso è la tortura dell'inquietudine e del vano desiderio. È una barca che nel mare pure la teme. Molto spesso ho studiato la lapide che mi hanno scolpito una barca con vele ammainate in un porto. In realtà non è questa la mia destinazione. Following the flying ball. Or I can choose to color my voice, imagining natural elements. For instance, I can sing a song like it was fog, like it was ice, like it was running water. Like it was fog. Sia maledetta maremma, sia maledetta maremma, chi l'ama. Or like it was ice. like it was running water. Sia maledetta mare, mare, ma. Sia maledetta mare, ma chi l'ama. We can also make improvisation starting from a theme. For instance, a theme that is very dear to me is in Istanbul's bazaar. Because you can have anything in Istanbul's bazaar. You can have, of course, people selling, but they can be young, old, men, women. You can have people stealing, you can have people crying, people shouting, people singing. You can have children, dogs, cats, birds, rats, anything. The only limit is your own imagination. So now I will make an example of an improvisation in Istanbul's bazaar.
Il dolore bussa alla mia porta, ma io ebbi paura. L'ambizione mi chiamo mettermi degli imprevisti, ma credo tutto avevo fame, tu sei figato nella vita. Io adesso so che bisogna alzare le vene, prendere venti del destino. Ovunque tinga nella barca, nel senso la vita può andare fuori. È la tortura, devi mettere nella mano desiderio.
And so on. We work with a text for the performances. And in the performance, Judith, I have a first monologue that is a kind of prologue of the whole performance, in which I tell the story of Judith. In this case, I worked with the text in different ways. I have some moments when the physical action and the vocal action and the action that is described in the text follow each other. For instance, I say, in this case is Nabucodonosor is the Assyrian king who says to Holofernes, he is the general of his army, go and occupy all the territory of the rebels, and you should not have any mercy to send them to their death. And I say it in this way, go and occupy all the territory of the rebels, and you should not have any mercy to send them to their death. So, I say, va e occupa tutto il paese dei ribelli, e che non abbia il tuo occhio compassione al destinarli a morte. In this case, they follow each other. My voice, go. The text, go. The finger, go and occupy. I don't say go and occupy. I say go and occupy. Because to occupy is to say, here I am. So I throw first my voice, and then I say, here I am, and then I make with my voice, as well as with my arm, a circle to delimitate all the territory of the rebels. Go and occupy all the territory of the rebels, and you should not have any mercy. It's easy not to have mercy, to send them to their death. And this is harder, because to send a person to death, it means to kill this person. And at that time, to kill was a work that they had to do with their hands. In another moment, when I speak about Judith washing her body with water and I anointed it with thick perfume, I say, Acqua in Italian is water, and profumo denso is thick perfume. Si lavò il corpo con acqua e lo unse con profumo denso. I say water, acqua, in this way because I can feel cold water running on my back. I can let one word, color, be colored by the association that it gives me. Or I say thick perfume. I don't say thick perfume. I say thick perfume. My voice is as thick as the perfume. Thick perfume. Another moment, I speak about the moment when she puts on necklace and bracelets. And in Italian we have a way of saying una risata argentina, which means a silver laughter, a silver laugh. So when she puts on bracelet, I think about the laughter of a young girl. Si mise collana e infilò braccialetti e si rese molto affascinante. And then braccialetti, bracelet, I color it in this way. Not all the words of the text are colored, but some words are chosen to be colored, to create, to break the monotony of the text and to give another dimension to it. Another moment, instead of shouting the most important word, I keep it back. A moment when she speaks about the elder people of the village, Betulia, her town, that decided to wait 5 more days. And then if God doesn't show his mercy, then they will surrender. And then mercy, misericordia, is the most important word. And I say like this. Decisero di resistere ancora 5 giorni. Poi, se il Signore Dio non avesse mostrato la sua misericordia verso Betulia, di arrendersi. In this case, I keep this word, and this keeping it makes the spectator doing the action of hearing. So, until now I've been speaking about technique. Technique and technique. And the technique is important, is essential in an art, but is not what the spectator should see. As a good friend of mine said once, technique is like a cold, black, ugly, iron staircase. It's necessary. But then it starts to snow, and the snow covers the staircase. And the staircase becomes white, beautiful, soft, and shining in the sun. And the snow is the performing situation where the spectator should not see the technique, but the technique is there underneath. Now, in what I will do, there is underneath the work with the segmentation, as I told you before, the work with the text. Everything is fixed because our performances have a physical and a vocal score that is fixed. In this fragment that I show you of the performance, I will be sometimes the narrator, sometimes Holofernes, sometimes Nebuchadnezzar, sometimes Judith, sometimes the guards. Is the text taken directly from the Bible. For me, it's new every time I do it. So I show it to you now.
Nell'anno 18º, il giorno 22 del primo mese, nel palazzo di Nabucodonosor, re degli Assiri, fu discusso un piano di vendetta per punire con la distruzione chiunque non si era alleato con lui contro Arfasad, re dei Medi. Nabucodonosor mandò a chiamare Oloferne, generale supremo del suo esercito, e gli disse: va e occupa tutto il paese dei ribelli e che non abbia il tuo occhio compassione al destinarli a morte. Oloferne diede ordine a tutto l'esercito di attaccare gli israeliti della città di Betulia, occupando tutte le vie d'accesso alla montagna, e iniziò l'assedio. Venne così a mancare agli abitanti di Betulia ogni riserva d'acqua. Incominciarono i bambini a cadere sfiniti, le donne e i ragazzi venivano meno dalla sete. Gli anziani decisero di resistere ancora 5 giorni. Poi, se il Signore Iddio non avesse mostrato la sua misericordia verso Betulia, di arrendersi. Venne a conoscenza della situazione Giudith, figlia di Merari, vedova di Manasse, la quale disse: voglio compiere un'impresa che passerà di generazione in generazione ai figli del nostro popolo. Depose gli abiti da vedova, si lavò il corpo con acqua e lo unse con profumo denso, spartì i capelli del capo e vi impose il diadema. Poi si mise gli abiti da festa, cinse collane e infilò braccialetti e si rese molto affascinante agli sguardi di qualunque uomo l'avesse vista. Uscì con la sua ancella prediletta dalla città di Betulia. Gli uomini le seguirono con gli sguardi mentre scendeva il monte, finché attraversò la vallata e la persero di vista. Le sentinelle assire la presero e l'interrogarono. Giudith rispose: sono figlia di ebrei, però fuggo da loro. Vado da Oloferne per mettergli sotto gli occhi la strada per cui potrà passare. Le sentinelle assire ammiravano la sua bellezza e si dicevano l'un l'altro: chi potrà disprezzare un popolo che possiede tali donne? La condussero alla tenda di Oloferne. Giudith disse: io intendo restare con te, mio signore, e pregherò il mio Dio e lui mi rivelerà il giorno in cui potrò entrare con tutto il tuo esercito e nessuno potrà porti resistenza. Le parole di lei piacquero a Oloferne. Rimase Giudith al campo 3 giorni ed ecco, al 4° giorno Oloferne fece preparare un rinfresco senza invitare alcuno dei suoi ufficiali e disse a Bagoa: va, invita quella donna ebrea a mangiare e a bere con noi, poiché sarebbe disonorevole per la nostra reputazione lasciare andare una simile donna senza aver goduto della sua compagnia. Giudith si adornò coi vestiti più belli con ogni altro ornamento muliebre. cuore di Oloferne ne rimase estasiato e si agitò il suo spirito. Disse: bene, e date alla gioia con noi. Judith rispose: sì, mio signore, verrò, poiché oggi sento dilatarsi la vita in me più che in ogni altro giorno che ho vissuto. Quando si fece buio, i servi si affrettarono a ritirarsi. Rimase nella tenda solo Judith e Oloferne sdraiata sul divano ubriaco fradicio. Judith si avvicinò alla colonna del letto e ne staccò la spada, afferrò per la chioma la testa di Oloferne e con tutta la forza di cui era capace lo colpì 2 volte al collo, mozzandogli la testa.
Until now, I've made theater archaeology, digging in the past, and now I would like to tell you something about my present and my future. The first thing is a work with a voice that I started already 4 years ago, but that for me is still in the beginning. It's a work that is inspired by a cassette of songs of shepherds from Georgia, ex-Soviet Union. I heard these songs and I was fascinated by the sound of their voices. They use what they call crystal voices. And it's not because they use very high voices or they sing in falsetto, but it's because they manage to make overtones, harmonics that are so strong, like the one that you can get when you have a crystal glass, and with a wet tip of your finger, you start making circles. So, I didn't have any master, any Georgian master, so I had to experience myself this journey through the harmonics. I will show you my harmonics. Still, they are very small. I know that I have a lot of work in front of me, but I would like to share them with you. And then something that belongs to the third season of the training of the actor. And the third season is when the actor still increases his circle of power, make bigger his presence, and then, on another hand, start already to have a kind of dramaturgical idea in his work. Start in his training to produce material that he can present to the director. Then I will make for you the first dance that I made tonight with a prop.
This
Few words that are not mine. The art of the actor is based on the organization of his material and on the actor's accurate knowledge of the means of expression of his own body. This was written by Meyerhold, a Russian theater director from the beginning of this century, and is still valid for me. Thank you for your patience.